Hey y'all, quick chat with Coach Max. This is the third video in the 3-part series focusing on solo playthroughs of the 3 legendary birds in Kanto. Articuno and Zapdos are already live, so if you haven't watched them first, you're gonna want to go and watch them right now. Go ahead. I've still got some snacks left over from the last video, so we can wait. I'll go to the store and get more if I have to. So Moltres. It's the fire-flying bird of legend in Kanto. And it's kinda the worst one. But, take it from me, it's not nearly as bad as I expected it to be in all honesty. It's got a 4 times weakness to rock types. Articuno does too, but it just feels worse on Moltres. Articuno can at least hit them with Blizzard or Ice Beam, I guess. Moltres can throw some fire, but that's it. It's also weak to water and electric, for what it's worth. On the flip side, it actually has a long list of resistances. Fighting, bug, grass, and fire. Steel and fairy, too, but Gen 1. It actually has the biggest list of resistances compared to the other birds. I think that just goes to show how not great it is. Following on that same line of thought, it has the highest stat total of all the birds. Like the other 2 videos, here's a comparison of the stats on screen. It's slower than Zapdos and has lower defense than Articuno, but has the highest base attack of the 3. So it's gonna hit hardest with flying type moves. All the other stats are equal. And even though it has the best stats, it makes it even worse that it's the worst of the bunch. I really think the moves are the worst part about it though. It starts with Fire Spin and Peck, a flying type move and an elemental move, just like the other 2 birds. I do find it weird that Moltres and Articuno got Peck and Zapdos got Drill Peck, so I'm not sure what happened there. And the level up moves are really bad. Instead of getting the strongest elemental move at level 51 like the other birds, it learns Leer. Not Fire Blast, Leer. I read in a random comment somewhere that it's because the index number or something similar for Leer and Fire Blast are right next to each other, and they just messed it up. Couldn't really find any proof of this, but it sounds plausible enough to me. The Gen 1 games are held together with bubblegum and paper clips as it is, so it makes sense. And the TM moves are the exact same as Zapdos and Articuno, except just swap out the electric or ice moves with fire moves. Or should I say move, because Fire Blast is the only fire TM move in Gen 1. Flamethrower wasn't even made a TM until Gen 3. So as you might have guessed, Fire Blast and Mimic are really the only ones that get any use here. Fly gets taught as soon as possible because it's stronger than Peck, and doesn't require a sitting duck charge turn like Sky Attack. What's that, Moltres? You've got a question for the audience? Is this to drive up comments for the YouTube algorithm? Of course not. Moltres would never be that obvious. It wants to know what your favorite shiny of the 3 birds is. I'm sure everyone will say yours, of course. It definitely doesn't look like a burnt rubber chicken. No way. And like with the other 2 birds, I asked my wife for a nickname for Moltres. We were watching Psych at the time, and she came up with the name Shabby, because it's the name of a sea lion that gets killed in the episode we were watching. Probably a terrible synopsis of the episode, but it's a fantastic show, you should watch it. I named my rival Doof, not just to be named like a certain scientist, but it's a good name. And Eevee got burned up pretty quickly by Fire Spin. I'm really hoping the turn locking ability of Fire Spin will come in handy in later battles. Without even a little leveling, I tried the optional rival battle and saw the biggest flaw in Fire Spin. It does lock Pokemon into a trap until the move ends, but it has 75% accuracy. That's a 3 out of 4 chance of landing, which means it's gonna basically be 50-50. I missed Fire Spin twice in a row against Spearow, and I'm lucky it didn't just take me out. It used Leer and Growl for a few turns, and I don't have any badges to trigger a badge boost glitch. At least Fire Spin was special and didn't get affected. Because it kept using these stat moves, I was able to take it down. And Fire Spin locked Eevee in, I whittled it down to half health, and missed another Fire Spin. 1 tackle took me out. I really just wrote a whole paragraph about the optional rival battle. Trust me, things really aren't dreadful in this run, but this was not a good omen at all. So after killing a few rats and mice to get to level 6, I battled Doof again, and Fire Spin wasn't a miss machine this time. It missed once, but that was it. I also got to see that critical hits are incredibly OP with these multi-turn moves. Once a turn crits, every turn afterwards continues to crit. 1 reset already though. Something else I never show off is that in the universal Pokemon Randomizer, you can adjust a few things, like randomizing the catch tutorial with the old man in Viridian City. Most of the time, these never result in anything cool, but I don't think I've ever seen this front-facing Clefable sprite. I just thought it looked neat. The junior trainer in Brock's gym was taken down a lot easier than I thought he would be. Fire Spin locked in his Pokemon for a quick victory, and I was planning on the same strategy taking down Brock. Of course, Fire Spin's 75% accuracy was less than ideal, but I was faster than Geodude and Onix. Geodude went down after some Fire Spins, and Onix was locked into Fire Spin. I just had to hope that it wouldn't load up on damage from Fire Spin during Bide. Luckily, Fire Spin landed just enough, and the moves Onix did use didn't hit too hard. I was hoping for a one-run attempt against Brock with Moltres, but I didn't really think it would happen. You'll notice there's a lot of battles that work out surprisingly well for Moltres. Let's just say it contrasts well with the battles it fails in. And speaking of battles that Moltres fails in, whoo boy. Yes, the first Jesse and James battle. I can't even blame it on anything like having low health from the last battle. I missed 3 Fire Spins against Ekans, and it used Wrap, pulling my own trick against me. Meowth hit way harder than I thought it would against a legendary bird, and Coughing almost went down to a few pecks, but Moltres couldn't hang on. Fire Spin connected with a critical hit on the next battle on Ekans, and the rest of the fight resulted like last time, except this is really how it should have gone last time. I really hope struggling against these two isn't a preview of the rest of the run. In Cerulean, I went straight for Misty, is what I would say if I was a complete moron. Fortunate for us, I'm only a semi-moron, and steered clear of her. Nugget Bridge Doof wasn't an issue. Fire Spin didn't even miss against him. The only damage taken was from a quick attack. I battled every single trainer on Nugget Bridge and Route 25 instead of just the required ones to pass through. I figured the only way to really beat Misty was to just overpower her, so any extra experience was welcome. I battled the extra swimmer in Misty's gym too, just for that little extra help. I was faster than Misty's Staryu, but instead of trying to lock it in Fire Spin, I went straight for Peck, got a crit. It landed a water gun that didn't do much because it's Staryu. Starmie showed what it was made of though, which surprisingly was not too much when it came to water gun, and I locked it in Fire Spin. But it was faster, and it swapped from water gun to Bubble Beam, which was much stronger. So forget this mess right now, I'm out of here. I headed for Vermilion and figured I'd come back to Misty later. I didn't battle anyone on the boat other than these guys that were blocking you from the max ether, and Doof. Doof was not much more trouble here than on the bridge. Meaning, he was not even a little bit of trouble. I didn't just use Fire Spin the whole battle because I was running low, so his Pokemon got a few more shots in than normal, but nothing that was going to affect the battle. And now that I had Cut, I thought I would take on Surge, and then realized you have to beat Misty to use Cut. Real talk, I've played Kanto and its many iterations many times. Seen the dialogue box after beating Misty that you can use Cut outside a battle, and it's honestly just kinda gone right in my brain and then right back out. So back to Cerulean. I'm certainly not doing these videos as actual speedruns by any means, but this cut into Moltres' time by a few minutes. At least I'd gotten a few levels, so Misty was a little easier. Higher stats helped at the very least. I was faster than Starmie this time, and other than when Fire Spin missed, I completely handicapped Starmie. I considered swapping to Peck at one point, but Starmie has high defense, and Misty's X-Defense kept me from even trying it out. I might not have gotten the win if I had swapped over to Peck. And now that I could actually use Cut, I battled Surge for real. First turn, critical Mega Kick from Raichu. And Moltres was way slower than Raichu. I missed my first Fire Spin too. Surge luckily used an X-Speed the next turn, and I locked it in Fire Spin for a few turns. And when it was able to attack, it used Mega Punch, much weaker than Mega Kick, or it would use Growl, which didn't affect me in any way since I was only using Fire Spin. And Fire Spin almost took it out, way down to red health. But it just outlasted me. That crit on turn 1 was mega. Next attempt, got hit with a critical Mega Kick again. But Fire Spin landed more often with crits of its own. And even though I was in red health faster in this battle than the other one, I got the win. If Surge had just used Thunderbolt once in either of these battles, I guess I made up for the bad luck on Fire Spin on him not using Thunderbolt. Moltres did have a little bit of a level advantage over the other birds at this point in the game, but all things considered, Moltres ain't doing terribly. The Raplast was literally destroyed, and the Exploding Hiker wasn't bad either. Fire Spin let me whittle down the Geodudes and kept them from attacking. And since both Geodudes didn't land a hit, I was going to be okay with Graveler exploding since I could take at least one explosion, but it never even got the chance. Now here's a controversial choice I made. Controversial in the sense that I didn't need to do this right here in the game, but it made battles later in the game a lot easier. I battled every single trainer in Erica's gym since I had a double type advantage over them. Easy XP. One of the trainers poisoned me, and I didn't even bother healing it. Erica was not gonna be an issue. But this is also where I learned that Fire Spin turns still cause poison damage taken to happen. So I took more damage from poison in this battle than any of Erica's Pokemon. And Tangela locked me in bind, so I was taking poison damage every turn there too. So I almost actually lost this one with my incredible pride being to blame. A crit against Weepinbell made for a super strong peck, but one peck didn't take out Gloom. It used Acid, and I shouldn't really be saying this dramatically. I already told you I almost lost, but still, it makes for a better story. In the game corner, Jesse and James didn't cause any trouble this time. I really wouldn't mention it if they hadn't taken me down in Mount Moon, but we all know what happened there. With a higher level and the turn-locking Fire Spin, I felt pretty good against Giovanni. It was a slow battle though. Peck sure wasn't going to do anything against the rocks. Fire Spin took down Onyx, Rhyhorn, and Persian. And the Ravel battle and Jesse and James in the Pokemon Tower weren't anything special either. Again, not really worth mentioning, but it's just crazy that they both beat me so early in the game and couldn't hear. With higher levels, stronger physical attack than the other birds, and a desire to win, which admittedly isn't going to do much for you sometimes, I headed straight for Koga. Fire Spin, as long as it landed, did a pretty good chunk of damage on the bugs, and even when it didn't land, they didn't hit me too hard. All the way to Venomoth with no troubles. But Venomoth was faster than me, and it used Toxic. Naturally, Fire Spin actually hit this time. And since I wasn't just regular poisoned, I was poisoned from Toxic, and its exponential growth each turn, I was cutting it close. Luckily, that very first Fire Spin was a crit, and I almost lost this winnable battle. But I didn't lose the winnable battle, it was won. Next on the docket was Silphco. Here's where things normally ramp up in difficulty. The difference between the Pokemon Tower rival and Silphco rival is vast. But I was a higher level than the other birds were at this point in the game. Sandslash and Ninetales weren't a trouble at all. But guess who? Freaking Cloyster. It didn't take me out at the very least, but of course it's annoying. Fire Spin missed when Cloyster was in red health, and Clamp is a water move that is basically water Fire Spin. Down to red. I was faster than Kadabra, and Fly took it out, but Jolteon's little Thundershock was enough to knock me down. I went straight in for another battle, and this one went like the other one without Fire Spin missing a turn. I made it to Jolteon without taking too much damage, then Fire Spin missed twice. Thundershock chunked away and took me down. One more try. I felt like I could win this if I was lucky enough. Next time I was full health when I got to Jolteon. Fire Spin landed. Things weren't going terribly, until Thundershock paralyzed me. And paralyzed was how Moltres stayed. Jolteon was resistant to flying moves, but maybe Fly was the way to go. No, BTW, it wasn't. Fire Spin did take it down to red health after landing for a good number of turns, but nope. So a few resets and we weren't getting anywhere with the rival. And then I almost lost to a random scientist in the building while leveling up. Electrode exploded and lowered my health, and then Weezing poisoned me. I locked it into Fire Spin and started taking poison damage each turn. Because of this, he almost beat me. But he didn't. And hey, apparently he's a Van Halen fan too. After battling some trainers in Silphco, I headed back to battle Doof, and the battle really wasn't much different. I was stronger, but 3 missed Fire Spins messed me up against Cloyster, and I was still slower than Jolteon. So I was still getting toasted by Thundershock. There was one more attempt after this that just isn't even worth mentioning. Back to battling all of the trainers in the building. After hitting level 56, I really thought I had it in the bag, but between missing Fire Spin and getting poisoned by Sandslash, I wasn't doing too hot this attempt either. I reached Jolteon at the very least, so I could get Thunder Shocked one more time. Gotta stick to a routine. But the next battle, no poison. Much more health in battle. Jolteon did land Thunder Shock, but Fly was hitting a lot harder. I didn't even want to risk Fire Spin missing. A crit Fly landed the final blow. And after this stressful battle, a quick sweep against Jesse and James was just what the doctor ordered. They're really bad now. And since I was a higher level, I wasn't worried about Giovanni at all, which would set up for a disastrous battle, but it wasn't. Fly and Fire Spin were enough to take it all down. I only lost 10 HP the entire battle from Scratch used by Nidoqueen. Oh, and I didn't mention it, but Lapras was named Mary this time. It's not a super exciting biblical name, but I recorded this part of the game on Christmas, so it was like kind of expired, I guess. And something finally made sense in this run. With the highest base attack, I was able to take down Sabrina in one attempt. I was faster than Abra, and Kadabra, surprisingly. Being a higher level than normal definitely made an impact on that. And Alakazam barely survived one fly, but it didn't hit hard enough on its 2 attacks to make a difference. This was a big win. And Blaine was not a tough battle. I didn't have much of a strategy here. His fire moves weren't going to do too much to me. So I was just going to fly and hope I tanked some hits. And in the end, that's exactly what Moltres did. But his Rapidash used Fire Spin on me, and that's not cool, because that's my move. Other than the Sylph rival, nothing in this run has been a brick wall for me. Man, I feel like we're going pretty fast now. I was expecting a few more troublesome battles. Not even Giovanni's gym battle could... Oh. Rock Slide. Yeah, Giovanni's gym battle was troubling. Dugtrio couldn't land any attacks on me, and Persian never did too much damage. But Nidoqueen and Nidoking were never taken down in one hit. They also had Thunder, but Moltres' special is good, so it never really crippled me. It was Rock Slide from Rhydon that ended almost every battle. Most times I mimicked Earthquake in this battle. If the Nidos missed Thunder or I had crits, I was able to reach Rhydon with full health. And Rock Slide was still a one-shot. So no matter what, Rock Slide was going to take me down. I tried mimicking Fissure instead of Earthquake to cheese my way past it, and it never worked. Never once did Fissure land against Rhydon. It got Nidoqueen and Nidoking a few times, sure, but that's it. At least I was able to learn Leer in this battle at level 51. Seeing this over and over was not quite the confidence booster you might think it would be. After losing a few more times, I battled the rest of the trainers in his gym, and I beat up on the nerds in the dojo for a few more levels. Upon return, grabbing Earthquake, only getting hit by Thunder, I was back at Rhydon. Only with full health would I have felt good about this, even with the levels. But Fire Spin came in clutch. It never once missed against Rhydon. And when it got all the way down to red health, instead of going for another Fire Spin, I swapped to Fly, because I am 100% certain that it would have missed if I had gone for Fire Spin. Like, I can guarantee that it would have missed. The final rival battle made for an interesting finale to this part of the game. Fire Blast was able to toast most of his team. Sandslash and Execute were roasted, and 2 flies on Ninetales took it down. I almost messed up against Cloyster though. I grabbed Withdraw from it using Mimic, and I got a very nice badge boost from the defense buffs. Fortunately, it never went for Clamp, and I took it down. I could have very easily lost there. And then I leveled up, so all those boosts from the badge boost glitch were gone. So I set up 2 more withdrawals on Kadabra. Kadabra landed 2 Psychics, 1 critical, but I held on, took it out, and I outsped Jolteon. 1 Fire Blast finished it up, and Jolteon didn't even get a chance to shock me. I was very happy with how this one turned out. And so, for the Elite Four, make some guesses on who you think will cause the most trouble, because it sure wasn't who I thought it would be. Lorelei did force 1 reset, and it wasn't Cloyster that took me down. Change of pace. It did knock me down to red health because I got cute trying to mimic Clamp and almost ruined myself. Luckily Fire Blast took it down in 1 hit. Fire Blast was a killer move, and it took down most of her team. Other than Slowbro, of course, but all it did was use Withdraw since it's a water move, and it just never wanted to use Surf, I guess. Fire Blast melted Jinx, and I really thought I was going to get the win. But Fire Blast just wasn't enough to take down Lapras in one hit. And it just had to sneeze, and I would have fainted. If I hadn't gotten cute, I would have definitely won, as long as it didn't use a water move at least. Next battle, Fire Blast burned Dugong, and it landed a Bubble Beam. It didn't do too much, hurt a little. Cloyster was a one-shot by Fire Blast, thank goodness. I used Mimic to grab Amnesia from Slowbro, used it twice, and Fire Blast was able to not very effectively one-shot Slowbro. I didn't mention it last time, Moltres learned Agility here, but I didn't even need it. 2 Fire Blasts, and Jinx and Lapras were donezo. Anytime you get a quick win against Lorelei, it's a fantastic run. Also, let's pause the video for a second and talk about something that I have never noticed and I've never seen anyone else talk about it. And if they have, I just don't remember. I mimicked a move in this battle, leveled up, and learned a new move. On the move select screen, Mimic was back to its normal state instead of being Amnesia. I didn't even notice it in the playthrough. I noticed it while I was writing the script and looking back at the footage. I have no idea if it would have just been Mimic again, or if it was an on-screen glitch. My guess is that since I was learning a new move, it has to revert back to Mimic so it doesn't freak out the game. Just my theory anyways, feel free to experiment on your own. Anyways, back to the Elite Four. The only thing I had to worry about with Bruno was the Rock Slide that both of his Onixes knew. Hitmonchan's Thunder Punch could have been potentially dangerous, but it didn't affect this battle any. I mimicked Dig to take out both of his Onixes, and the first one used Screech, boosting my attack stat. 1 Dig took it down, and 1 Fly was all I needed to beat Hitmonchan. I decided to start spamming Agility against Hitmonlee to boost my stats even more. All it did was use Double Team and get an X-Defend used on it. Fly nuked it, and a Dig dug a grave for the next Onix. And if his Machamp had Rock Slide like a good competitive one would normally have, I could have been in trouble. But Fly nuked it as well. If you guessed Bruno would cause trouble, you must have never played Gen 1 before. And if you guessed Agatha would cause trouble, you're very fortunately wrong. I used 2 Agilities against the first Gengar to boost my stats, and barely took any damage from her team. I only used 2 instead of 3, because I knew that if I would level up halfway through the battle, all of those boosts would go away. But, funnily enough, I didn't even level up at the end of the battle. So, I could have done that final Agility, but it didn't matter. Agatha kept swapping her team in and out, and I was able to mimic Psychic from her final Gengar, with Arbok just kinda hanging out in the back. It's always fun using an overpowered move like Psychic. Honestly, probably one of my favorite moves of all time, cause it's just a classic. But Lance. Lance was the trouble that I did not expect. Looking back, it should have been pretty clear though. Gyarados is in love with Hydro Pump, and first attempt, 2 Flies took it to red, but 2 Hydro Pumps took Moltres down. I tried Fire Blast one time, and burned it, so its physical attack was cut in half. Good thing Hydro Pump is special. But Moltres was always able to take at least 1 Hydro Pump, and a critical Fly let me make it past Gyarados. Then Dragonair went down to 2 Flies, but not before getting a critical Thunderbolt on me. It didn't really do much, but I was in rough shape. I tried using Agility to boost my stats, but a single Bubble Beam from the second Dragonair did me in. Oh, here was a fun one. I started with Agility to boost my stats, and got taken out by a critical Hydro Pump. The run right after that involved me getting to use 3 Agilities, and Gyarados missing 2 Hydro Pumps in a row. I then acted dumb and used Fire Blast, when I should have just gone straight for Fly. Got taken down to yellow health. And I took Dragonair down in 2 turns, but it paralyzed me. And I never even touched the second Dragonair. Next time, I tried using Hyper Beam from Gyarados. It really only worked decently because Gyarados was missing all of its Hydro Pumps. Both Dragonair were taken down in 1 hit from Hyper Beam, and I was able to use Agility twice. So even though I was paralyzed, I was in good shape. Aerodactyl took 3 Hyper Beams though before it went down, but it didn't hit nearly as hard as I expected it to. Dragonite for sure took me out. One Fire Blast was not nearly enough to do anything against it. After bashing my head against the wall, I dipped into my rare candies and boosted up to level 60. I was not about to try every single level along the way. This made me be able to take hits much better. Gyarados still hits hard, but 2 straight hits took it down, and Dragonair missed its first Thunderbolt. 2 flies and it went down. Then I could mimic Ice Beam from the second Dragonair, and Ice Beam isn't nearly as effective against me, the Firebird. I was in the clear, and Aerodactyl beat me. So I just straight up used Agility 3 times against Gyarados, and if it hadn't missed one of them, I would have been in trouble. And then I missed Fly. I missed Fly. It has 95% accuracy, so it's not a 1 in 256 miss, but I missed Fly. A critical Fly and a missed Hydro Pump finally paved the way for success. Making it past Gyarados with no damage was exactly what I needed. One Fly wasn't enough to take down the first Dragonair though, and it paralyzed me. And that paralysis lasted for a good few turns. I was able to use Agility once, mimic Ice Beam, and beat the second Dragonair that was whittling away at my health. And here's what surprised me the most. I outsped Aerodactyl. I think using Agility while I was paralyzed reset the speed cut that paralysis gives. That's all I've got. I don't know, test that one out on your own. And Ice Beam was a one-shot against Dragonite. I was finally past Lance. I was shocked at how long this battle took. Literally, I got hit with Thunderbolt a lot. The final battle with Doof. I mimicked Earthquake. One Fire Blast was enough to take down Sandslash. With a big attack stat and stab fly, I thought I would take out Alakazam in one hit. But it hung on with just a little bit of health, and it hit me with a critical Psychic that lowered my special. That was not good. I did take it down and tried to counteract the special loss by using Agility, but Exeggutor got me with a critical Stomp. And I forgot to add 1 to the reset counter, so it should say 26 here. But, honestly, out of all the Pokemon to lose to, Exeggutor? The good news is 26 is the highest that number's gonna get. How can I say that so confidently? Well, I'm the one that played the game. For some reason I used Fly instead of Fire Blast on Sandslash. Fly didn't hurt it nearly as bad. I knocked it down to red health, then Doof used the full restore. So I went for Fire Blast, but the previous turn I was poisoned by Poison Sting. So I was on the clock. Alakazam still withstood one Fly, but only just. It went for Recover, and another Fly took it out. I used the opportunity against Exeggutor, with it not being able to hurt badly, to set up 3 Agilities. It used Barrage every single time, and couple that with the poison damage, it started chipping away. But my stats were boosted. Fire Blast took it down. One Fire Blast took down Cloyster 2, and just one Earthquake took out Ninetales. Now, just me and Jolteon. I used Earthquake, watched as its health started decreasing, and saw it hit 0. This was a critical Earthquake that may or may not have made the difference in the battle, and I don't care. It was done. The Moltres run was finished. And Moltres isn't great. I was honestly expecting it to be awful, but it really wasn't that bad. On the battles where it failed spectacularly, but everywhere else, it did the job. Either satisfactory, or even better than the other birds in just a few circumstances. Let's compare the finish times and reset counter for all the birds. Zapdos leads the pack, as expected, and Moltres brings up the rear, also as expected. Maybe Moltres is so bad because of its comparison to the other legendaries, and the fact that there are other Pokemon that aren't legendaries and have worse stats that it can't outdo isn't doing itself any wonders. But I enjoyed it. When Moltres performed well, he performed well. And with that, the Legendary Bird Trilogy is over. It's a shame there's not another Legendary Bird in Kanto that I can use for more videos. Or is there? Thank you so much for watching the video today. Make sure you like, comment, sub, all the usual stuff, because I know you're tired of hearing it, but it really does make a difference for things on the channel. Have a great day, make good choices, and until next time, see you later!